I want to thank you all for joining us today. Today, in our virtual week celebration, we will be having a panel discussion with our sister organizations. What makes Chicano Park special is, aside from the steering committee has been always made up of different community members that are always a part of different organizations. They wear different hats. And what makes the park so beautiful is we always collaborate together in order to work to achieve the common goal. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. My name is Lucas Cruz. I'm a member of the Chicano Park Steering Committee. I'm a board member of the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. I'm also a member of Berets, Aztlan, San Diego. And I'm also going to be introducing my co-host here, JC. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Lucas. Such a momentous occasion. It's an honor. My name is Juan Carlos Lozano. I'm a member of Unión del Barrio, and I'll be co-hosting with Lucas.
Yeah. So we want to thank you all for joining us again. And to start off, we can go through introductions. We can go in the order. We'll go with just the order that appears on my screen. Start with Unión, Joanie. We'll go to LIBROS, to Centro, and then Berets, Aztlan. So Joanie, do you want to make the introduction?
Thank you for having us. I'm representing Unión del Barrio. My name is Joanie Lopez, and I've been a member of Unión del Barrio for almost 5 years. And it's an honor to be in this panel and representing the 51 years of protecting the parque and ensuring that resistance, not to just San Diego, but overall in Aztlan, and I would say even further, right, Nuestra America. But thank you for having us.
Itza.
Muted.
Oh, you're muted, Itza.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting Reforma San Diego Libros. My name is Itza, and I'm currently the chair of the organization. And we are the local chapter of Reforma National and an affiliate of the American Library Association. I'm also staff at San Diego City College and a developing member of a binational independent publishing press called Taller California. We'll be developing the community workshop arm and the publishing arm of LIBROS. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Amelia Enrique, the current president of the Board of Trustees of Centro Cultural de la Raza, located in Balboa Park. Really appreciate the invitation.
And I'm Roberto Hernandez. I'm the current treasurer of the board here, and also professor on the stage. So always, both the Centro and Chicano Studies history with supporting the park. So we're happy to be here. Oh, and I'll mention also I'm a member of a colectiva called Autonomía Xochitequio. That's also been contributing a lot as volunteers here at Centro.
Hello, my name is Eddie Alvarez. I am the current chair of National Brown Berets Aztlan, and I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, everybody. So we'll start off with the first question here. We just want to ask, what does Chicano Park represent to your organization? And what are some of the ways that you work with the Chicano Park Steering Committee over the last 50 years?
We can go ahead and begin with Joanie and Unión del Barrio.
Thank you. From what I know, Unión del Barrio has done a lot of work with the Chicano Park Steering Committee. We've held, I know a lot of our marches that happen here in San Diego, sometimes we start at Chicano Park or we end it at Chicano Park. Some of the ones that come to mind is May 1st, Primero de Mayo for International Workers' Day, as well as El Grito. We have the Grito de Independencia de Mexico that we host every year at the park. We've also done security for Chicano Park Day in the past. We also kicked out, fascists that have come several times to the parque, right? So for us, it's a little piece of land that we call our own, right? And I know that, this used to be Mexico at some point. And so for us, it's like we're reclaiming our indigenous lands. we acknowledge the fact that, you know, it's that resistance that we can call, you know, our own, and it takes the whole community to take care of it, right? And also one of the founding members of Unión Neto, Ernesto Bustillos, I know that he worked very closely with the Chicano Park Steering Committee. Unión was established in 1981, so there's been a lot of history, and you know, I've only been a member for 5 years, but I'm actually a resident of Barrio Logan, and I grew up here, and you know, I can attest to seeing, you know, a lot of the work from barrio cleanups to you know, helping out, even painting, right, like the stairs or whatnot. And I know that also we've held events with the panels of what is gentrification versus gentrification, and specifically like in Barrio Logan. Unión del Barrio has also ensured that Hispanics didn't come to the park for, I guess you can say, for their own personal gains, right? So we want to keep it true to our gente, to our community. And this is something that I think it's important that we share, you know, for our future generations, especially the youth. And, you know, I applaud for all the organizations that are a part of you know, of the struggle, and that we work together and that we continue working together, especially right now with COVID. You know, our community has been one of the most affected, and, you know, we're still pushing through, and I applaud every aspect that we're working towards, you know, like this year's, right? Like resistance and healing, and, you know, all of that. So I'll come back for more later, but that's a little bit of what I have.
To locate ourselves historically, Reforma Nacional was established in 1971 by radical Chicana feminist librarians, and the local chapter was established in 1985 by many of the same founders that also founded Chicano Park and Centro Cultural de la Raza. So we very much come from our community, and we work with our local libraries and connect them to the park in various ways by providing, you know, sometimes bilingual storytime programming, information literacy resources. We advocate for our local Chicana librarians and support staff. We annually fundraise for a scholarship to support our Chicana librarians that are currently in school. And we participate in the annual Chicano Park Day celebration. Personally, I grew up at the park. I grew up in San Isidro and Chula Vista, and I currently live in Golden Hill. So Chicano Park has always been a part of my family and my upbringing. My uncle was a Brown Beret, and so we were always at the park in some form or another. So working with LIBROS has been very much a continuation of that work.
Much like Itza's story and Joanie, I also was raised within the park and the Centro as kind of like a second home. The connection, I think, in some ways is like Itza, I think is perfect. It's my community, and so in that, I feel like San Diego is like the biggest little town, because we're all connected in some way, and sometimes it just takes a little while to figure out that history of that connection. But very much have since a young girl attended Chicano Park, been here at the Centro through Ballet Folklorico, through events, through protests with Unión del Barrio, starting marches off here on the lawn with some ballet first. A lot of history, a lot of really good memories. I'm really excited about hearing it all today.
And one thing I'll just add on the historical note, you know, the Toltecas in Aztlan was a collective of artists and community members, came together to create the Centro, and also involved with Chicano Park. But one little tidbit of history that I always like to mention, and sometimes folks don't realize, the park happened first and then the Centro, but the murals at the park didn't start till '73. So in those first 3 years, it was the Centro that was a practice waltz, if you will, for what became all the murals down at Chicano Park. So the history of our two El Parque, Nuestra Tierra Sagrada, and this space here, Centro, with the Danza Azteca, first coming through here in the park at the same time into the US. You know, our histories are so intertwined that, you know, it's a pleasure to be able to share some of that here today.
Thank you. Compadre?
Wow. I think about it, Berets, National Brown Berets was founded in 1968. That's 52 years later. 52 years later, and we're still here, still facing a lot of struggles and fights in modern times, as I would see it, because racism, oppression, being equal, having rights, it's a lot of things we're still dealing with in a lot of different ways. And so the National Brown Berets, still to uphold that mission and guidance, still face that to this day. But take it back a little bit, me personally, 24 years old, and I'm the chairman of the National Brown Berets San Diego. And Chicano Park, it is a piece of Aztlan, but over the decades, it's became more than that. And I believe it's the heart of Aztlan. And I say that because so many organizations, so many things have came from that park and blossomed into something bigger. Even if it started small with 3 people. I mean, the Brown Berets started off with just a handful. Just like the steering committee. The majority of the steering committee were Berets at one point. So when it comes back to intertwining history, even with the Centro, I mean, we go way back. And through that struggle and through that suffrage, we've learned, as long as Chicano Park is still standing, as long as we're still around, the fight isn't over. It just continues to grow stronger by the love and passion that we all carry. And that's one thing I've learned through the Berets, is that we're all guided by our emotions, but also our passions for a better future, for a stronger future. And when it comes to the steering committee, we go hand in hand. And that's because, like I mentioned before, the steering committee is done by majority at one point Berets. And from that, we have always worked hand in hand when it came to defending the park, educating people at the park, and when it came to even creating foundations of programs that are much needed here. And that's why I say, when it comes to us 52 years later, it's a real big understanding that there's so many programs that are much needed that we still carry on when it comes to giving back, like the community gathering. We give away clothes, we educate a little sense, but we give away food as well. We become that connection to our community, and that makes us become stronger and more independent. And to understand that, it just goes into so many details that I can break down to, but I'm gonna cut it a little short right now, and just make you all understand, when you see this at home, it just goes hand in hand, and all these intertwines of history and historical events and programs are much needed. And that's all I would like to say right now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, compadre. And that passion and that rigor is exemplified by all of your statements and the work that the organizations here do on a daily basis, along with the Chicano Park Steering Committee. So I thank you all for joining us again. And thank you, Lucas, for inviting me to co-host here. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you all the second question here. This is going to be directed to Joanie again. We'll go in the same order here. It's going to be to Joanie and to all the organizations here. What is your organization's role in protecting and educating our people regarding the notion of Chicanismo?
Thank you. Well, I mentioned earlier that Unión, we're actually turning 40 this year. And we have a lot that or at least that I'm constantly learning from, from the membership of Unión del Barrio. We also have Unión del Barrio in LA. So one of the things that I think it's really important is that we're directing all the efforts and educating not just like a certain sector, but all sectors of our community, from people incarcerated, right? We have the Mexicano Prison Project. That's a project of Unión del Barrio. And we have a newsletter that goes into prison twice a year. And it's all written by us, by members and community members who are part of the Chicano Mexicano Prison Project. We also have Escuela Aztlan, which is an escuela for the youth, for the Raza youth, where it's a Saturday school. Every other Saturday they meet. Right now, because of COVID, it's been through Zoom, but it might be attracting more people because of Zoom. Maybe they would want to, chime in. I don't know. I don't know the dynamics, right? But I know I probably would jump in. But usually when it's not during COVID, we take them to Chicano Park, we show them the history, we show them Chicano culture through film, through art, through activism, through, different elements. So I think it's also important that, we start young, right? With the youth. I wish I would have had a lot of that growing up. I didn't get into that until I was into college. We also have the sector of educators, so geared towards teachers and those that are in that space of education. And we also have for example, the patrullajes, right, that we do patrolling the communities, and we're advocating for a raza, and I think all of that is tying in with what Chicanismo and the cultura and the struggles that our culture deals with day in, day out. I mentioned earlier the prison. We get so many letters from inside of them sharing, their experiences, good or bad or whatever it is, poems. Some of them, they just want to talk. They actually ask us for culture. Hey, do you have something on purépechas? Because I found out that I'm purépecha and I want to learn. That Chicanismo, that carnalismo, right? I think it's all tied into, at least I see it through the work that we're doing. And it's not easy, right? We don't get paid to do this. We do it because we truly believe in building that connection, that's of our struggle. And we believe that's going to be what's going to liberate a lot of us, and all of us actually, and claim what's ours, or reclaim, like a lot of people are doing, but claim it, because it's, it's really important. So for us is through that, through not just, like I said, not through just marches and like one event, right? It's like constant, every moment, every sector, any age, not just the educated college student, everybody. I come home and then I bring it to my mom. I'm like, Mom, did you know about this? And you have to break it down to even my mom's almost 70. So she's an abuelita now. So, every sector. And I think, that's what makes Unión del Barrio, at least for me, like a really great space for, for learning and continue to learn, right? Because as day and age, a lot of things are changing, and it's also important for us to learn from the new and from the old, right? From, both aspects. But yeah.
Thank you, compa. Compa, if you could follow up.
Yes, speaking or locating myself from the position of the library, we advocate for an open and accessible library and services for all. As that relates to Chicanismo, in that there are many, there are many ways that one can approach services for multi-generational populations, and so it's really important that we are able to make accessible the services, whether in the form of books, materials, computer information about public health, readily available for our communities. And we're really excited about a very recent project. We helped co-found Bibliotequita Colibrí at Centro Cultural de la Raza, and I'm hoping in the future that maybe we could open up a little free library at Chicano Park and a seed library to literally locate and place reading materials for our youth, and create another node on the path from and to and from the library. And so that we're making really viable connections between, our young and to our more mature populations, that the library is a place to access all kinds of materials and resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia, and I'm sorry, I have too much professor.
No, yeah, the Centro Cultural also shares the same dynamic where it's an intergenerational space where we have one of our younger volunteers actually just recently helped tell stories on Hora de Cuentos, which is one of our new projects as well associated with Bibliotequita, that highlights the imagination for youth, and highlights also that, that circle within the family, within the home, where parents and children or whoever may be in a home may share some time to kind of take a break and use their imagination to think about what's around them. And a lot of the books focused in Bibliotequita are at an appropriate space for the Centro, where we focus on the ability for people to really know themselves and be comfortable knowing and learning about other people. We have volunteers that range from regular volunteers that are 16 years old and choose to be here on a Saturday. We do a lot of work that involves the culmination of creativity in one space. And the same, like in the telling of the Chicano Park, in that it is kind of a central location, a connection, a place to rejuvenate and reconnect and kind of center yourself and look out and see what's around you.
Yeah, because one of the things with the Centro, the mission itself is to create, promote, preserve, and educate about Chicano, Mexicano, indigenous arts and culture. So it's at the heart of what we do. And, one thing that I would add too is that even when thinking about what it means to be Chicano, Chiclicayo Noche, it comes from the Nahuatl, which speaks to our connection, our belly button, our connection to the land. We are from the land. And I say that because even when we say indigenous, yes, this was Mexico once, but as Gloria Saldúa famously writes, ends her book with the line, this was Mexico once, was Indian always, and is, and will be again, right? So we also kind of operate from that understanding that it goes beyond just the nation state of Mexico. We do a lot of work with the Kumiais here locally. In the Tiendita, we have products from the Kumiais from Baja. A number of us that are in this space also involved with the Congreso Nacional Indígena in Mexico. In the Tiendita here, we have products from the Congreso Nacional, from the Zapatistas. So, we're connecting to pueblos throughout the continent. Because even in the Plan Espiritual de Aztlan, right? When it talked about Aztlan, it was talking about that return home in terms of our land more broadly. Nowhere in the Plan Espiritual is there any mention of the Southwest. It talks of a union of free pueblos, Chicanos as a nation among other free nations, among other free indigenous pueblos and nations. So I think even here, there was a rewriting of the plan. The second version was published out of Centro when Alurista rewrote the Plan Espiritual de Aztlan. And it's even the first one was already anchored in more of an indigenous understanding of Chicanismo. The second one, even more so. And even in that second one, again, there's no Southwest. There's a union of free pueblos.
Oh, thank you. And that's all vital. People listening at home, take notes. This is all great information. Thank you very much, Chairman Alvarez. I think you're on mute, Chairman. I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to the Berets and when it comes to Chicanismo, or as we know it, Carnalismo, it really gets home. And one thing I've learned about being part of the National Brown Berets as a chairman, or even before I was the chairman when I was a youth sergeant, it intertwines with everything that you're involved in, whether it's work, whether it's family, or whether the issues you deal with when you just walk out that door. or even at school. And the sense of that we were always been a multi-generation org, and elders that we still have to this day in their 70s and 80s still tell us how the issues and the similarities of what we deal with now, and just the different aspects of it now. It really brings the understanding that we have always been at work when it came to feeding our young, educating our young, and through that we have done, like I mentioned, breakfast programs. We have done end of the year toy drives that we have been doing lately, and this year would have been our 9th. Last year we had kind of put everything to a halt due to everything just because of the safety of the gente. We do not want to risk our own gente with everything that's going on, especially with COVID. And so there's even times where we have to make decisions in the safety of our own people. So it's in a way we think ourselves as a conscience that the people can look up to, because we want a better future. We want our youth to strive. We want our youth, when they walk up that door, rather an artist and graffiti, or as I know it as murals, or in aspects of where they want to do something for the world, we have to guide that path for them. And the Berets have taught that if there's nothing out there, we have to become that. We have to show that. And there's documents, historical things that we, as the National Brown Berets Aztlan, have done here in San Diego when it comes to clinics, when it comes to the programs, even help forming the platforms and points of mecha. You know, I like to inform a lot of people that are not in knowledge of it. Our Minister of Information, Miguel Berets, helped form that format and platform of mecha back in the 60s, 70s. And what it's become now, it's from that. So our group has really taken a toll to really understand that if we want a better future, we have to become that. And through that, we do it through the toy drive, we do it through the fundraisers, that we do scholarships to also in San Bernardino from one of our unit commanders, Mari. She does a real good job for those mujeres. And that's something that she's been doing for 11 years straight now. And that's a scholarship for incarcerated women and women in the struggle, or even women that haven't been recognized when they do their hardly daily chores, keeping up their kids, keeping up their families, or even our elders that take care of our abuelas. You know, these are things that we must acknowledge and recognize, because no one will do that for us. And as Berets, that's why we also made it important that with the numbers that we have now, because it's been a while since we had a lot of young soldiers. We've have a lot of older soldiers, but as the movement gets older, we need more. We need you. I'm talking to you, youth out there listening now. We need you to get involved with these organizations now. Reasons why? Because, like, as we all mentioned, time goes by, years go by, we're not getting any younger, and that's why we're setting up this path for you, and take advantage of it. You know, when you see the Brown Berets out there giving you a program to look up to, just look into it. I'm not telling you to believe it. Take a look into it, because we want a better future for you, and that's what our thing is. You know, besides being an organization, we must see ourselves as a family. Like I always say, familia de Aztlan. And that means to me that we must become that core that blossoms, that core for a better future. And through the scholarships and what I mentioned, the breakfast programs, and the even doing fundraisers for people that are losing their homes or can't bury their loved ones. That's the carnalismo that we must become. We must take care and love one another. And that's what the Brown Berets has taught me, and that's what we have always shown to our community, that if we can't have that program, we must become that program. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to build a pyramid. I know that for a fact, because there are people that build those pyramids. And if we come from that ancestry, what makes you think we can't reshape or heal the world? And that's one thing that the Brown Berets will always carry, is that we have to become that faith. We have to become that program of system, and work with all these other organizations in the struggle. We have to become that front line, whether it's educational, rather it's nurturing, rather it's healing, or the physical force to show that we are no longer gonna sit down and let things happen to us. We have to become that future, and that's what I want to share.
No, thank you for that. And, and thank you all for sharing as well in that perspective. Roberto, when you mentioned, the idea of Aztlan and it never being tied to the Southwest. And when we tie it to the Southwest, that's us relating it to the Spanish border, the Adams-Onis Treaty and that borderline that was set up, and that, to me, when I think of that, it's that form of colonization, and that's always been this attack in our minds. And when we look at the park itself and the murals, you can see the various ways we've been attacked through historically, whether it's locally here in Logan with a community plan allowing for industry being next to residential, whether it's the environmental issues that the bridge and the freeway cause, eminent domain causing the houses to be lost. We look at the poverty rates and the lack of employment opportunities for our gente. There's multiple issues and multiple ways we're being attacked. So I would like to ask you all, in that sense, what is your primary goal right now with your organization? What is your main focus? And on, if you can, I know there's multiple issues we're being facing daily, but what is something that you're trying to highlight and how are you highlighting it?
So I mentioned earlier about the community patrols that we're doing. Raza is the one that gets mainly attacked, right? And by ICE, for example. So we do the patrullajes in different communities, not just in Barrio Logan, Shelltown, Linda Vista, and North County as well. I also mentioned the prison right now with COVID. We don't hear often if they're getting vaccinated. We're hearing that workers are right out here, but what about, that sector? And so it's it takes us to write those articles to, pass that knowledge to their community that they have their loved ones in there and they don't know nothing. Like they don't know if they're next on the vaccine, are they gonna get it? Or, they're more prone to getting ill or possibly dying, as we've been seeing, right? But they don't, the news is not gonna tell us, right? So it's up to us to inform our community. Also, I would say right now, the whole online activism, for us is the online helps, right? But it's more actions like in person. Obviously right now with COVID, it could be, challenging, but, real work happens in person, right? With people. And so I think that's one of the challenges that we've been, I can see this generation as, we have everything on TikTok and Instagram. And I think that's a tool that we can use, but I think it's not the only way or, to organize. And also I know, Eddie, you mentioned mujeres, right? That's one of the struggles that we have when it comes to the prison aspect of it. We have a lot of the males in prison writing to us, and it's been really hard outreaching for mujeres. And we're constantly, asking, to send us their information so that we can have that, connection. Also LGBTQ, so there's a lot that we're tackling, or we're trying to. I forgot to mention earlier also, we've done, I think it's important that we also mention that, we believe that we're not ni demócratas ni republicanos, that we need our own political, our own political stand, our own political movement, right? Our own revolution. And I think that's another, we've had electoral campaigns, independent ones, right? And so I think that's also important that we create, if we're not happy with what's happening right now in the communities with either or, that we create our own political party, right? And so, but that, like Eddie said, that takes you want change, so join an organization, join the Berets, join Unión del Barrio, get involved, come to the Chicano Park Steering Committee meetings, or help out whenever, there's, lunch distributions, cleanups. It doesn't have to be in a specific day. It can just be on your own. Clean up the park, clean up the streets, ask us questions. I know, and I just mentioned online right now, but hit us up, but yeah, I think that's one of the, like, how do we reach to that sector, how do we reach to our elders to tune in to, I mean, it's hard. I mean, not everybody has access to the internet, right? No, not everybody has access to a phone. So we're also mindful of that. That's why it's important to, and I have a copy here, to create stuff like pamphlets. I know that the Berets do that a lot, right? And we go around the community and we post them on the cars, on, you know, we distribute them. You know, it's important that we're sharing literature. If we have, I know today we had a UDB pop-up where we're fundraising for our mural, and I'll get into that later. But it's important that not only are we selling our merchandise for the mural, but also that we're passing out literature. We're passing out flyers, how to get involved, showing these statistics of what I just mentioned, like the prison, right? Like, I mean, I don't have one right now with me, but we're writing about that and informing the community. So I think that's been more of the challenge, how can we get people involved? And I hope people don't get intimidated, you know, and it's a beautiful space to be in. And I know a lot, I've seen, I think with the exception of Biddy, I think I've seen everybody in person, you know, and whether it's at a marcha or, you know, in college, I know with Roberto, right? We go way back, but you know, it's, how do we bridge that, you know? So I think that's one of the things, and I don't know if I answered the question correctly or not, but I can be a little bit all over the place, but I'll stop.
Thank you, Joanie. LIBROS has a main goal at this time. You know, right now that I'm chair, I've been focusing on creating connections between public libraries and community organizations and higher education. As I mentioned earlier, I'm staff at San Diego City College, so in student services, so I work with many different populations, local, maybe not so local, sometimes international, and you really get, you know, you get a close look at who lives here and what they're going through and what they need. Like, the community knows what they need. They just need to be met halfway by organizations that can help to support, you know, their own communities. So we approach our programming largely through arts-based programming, because much like the library, the arts in the library are ways to tackle many things at the same time. And there's emotional support, there's intellectual support, there's communal support, and, you know, education is not a completely cerebral or intellectual activity, but we do need representation in our upper administrative positions, persons running our cities, persons running our colleges, persons running our schools. And we are well equipped to provide a lot of information that might seem daunting. So we've done a lot of community workshops working with the FAFSA, the DREAM Act application, AB 540 populations, and working with our trans-border communities. And so working, like, resetting this idea of a pipeline, in that it's the negative connotation and the negative destructive effects of, you know, what's typically understood as, you know, the prison pipeline. We want to completely reroute that, and a lot of that comes down to information literacy and outreach and advocating for those in our communities. But we like to do it through a lot of arts programming, because sometimes the youth need a bit of, you know, someone else to mind them for a bit with an activity, while our adults, you know, get some important FAFSA information. So we often do our events with a two-pronged approach. So that's one of our main goals right now, to get a lot of Spanish language and multilingual materials out into the community, and then also make those connections between our community and higher education. Thank you.
Yeah, here at the Centro, I think we have the privilege of having space, indoor space, to conduct connections with community. Because it's probably one of the hardest things, I think, that the community faces sometimes, is not necessarily the want or the passion or the need, but really like the resources or the path to get to that goal. where you can feel like you're encompassing yourself in that project and really focusing on it and have the tools ahead of you so that you can do those things rather than worry about all the logistics of getting something done. And in that way, you know, I realize we're very fortunate as a space to have this location and have it in such close proximity to Chicano Park so that it really is just a look away. You look out the horizon from the front of Centro and you see the bridge, you know, you see the park, you see the connection, you see how it doesn't matter how many buildings get in the way, we still see it and we know it's there. And, you know, we do a lot of things to engage youth here because we completely believe that the youth are the ones who have to see what we're doing and see us do it in a way that pays respects to all of the foundational things that were done before us, that we have inherited, and those tools that we have, and give them more tools. So we have programs that we participate in with the Department of Rehabilitation, where we have paid student workers who work here at the Centro, learning skills that not only they can use in a work setting, because that's really like a balancing point for the Centro, I think, is finding ways to engage creativity, but also encourage your own self-responsibility. And so we have programs where the youth with Bibliotequita, we have the art space in the gallery where we've had youth come who've never even had a show, never even thought about putting their pieces up on a wall, but we're like, well, let me give it a try. And next thing you know, they're shocked that they got a space. And so we do a lot of things that are intergenerational and mix in with the various pieces of the Centro. We have a new print shop that we created where we actually have been printing all of our own merchandise that we're selling here. A lot of things that we're doing. I'll let Roberto touch on some as well.
Yeah, one of the things, right, is in being a space, we like to say here, el centro es de quien lo trabaja. The Centro belongs to those who work it. And in that regard, it's not ours. We're just board members. We're just the current stewards that are holding the space, but holding space for everyone else. You know, the Centro, it belongs to those who work it, is also a way to say, if you have a project, if you have something, a vision, something that you want to bring forward, like come over here and do it, you know, take ownership, and we'll provide the space and whatever, you know, whatever little means we can to support it. Right. But at the same time, sometimes people come and say, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. It's like, well, we don't have the capacity, but if you want to take it up, adelante, you know, el centro es quien lo trabaja. That's going to be your project, do it. So, you know, we got the silk screening going right now. Autonomía Xochitequio and other volunteers have been doing a lot of outside space, right? We have the inside, but we're also in Balboa Park. And because of COVID, we've been trying to build up our garden and like get outdoor event space. We just been to be able to do more activities, both inside and outside, you know. So there's numerous projects. And then the being a space, other thing I'll mention is like groups holding meetings. I know Berets have met here before, Union's met here before. During the Caravana in 2018, I'm looking across because we still have a banner of, which kind of gets back to the previous question. Somos un pueblo sin fronteras, right? It's like sin ninguna frontera, not just redrawing to the previous border, but no borders. And it's here because, you know, during the caravan, we became an impromptu donation spot where people were bringing stuff from like Oakland, Portland, you know, truckloads of material supplies that we were then taking down to Tijuana to the caravaneros. You know, that began as a weekend donation drive. It lasted 3 months. You know, the whole gallery was filled like 3-4 times over in the course of those months. So Detention Resistance is another group that sometimes meets out of here or have meetings here. So we also want to be a space that's open for any community organization that either has an event or has meetings or whatever, right? We provide some of that space, but we also encourage you to take on your own projects and do them out of here.
Awesome. Chairman?
Well, we always have an endless list when it comes to us. But I would say during this pandemic, during this focus of what we've been dealing with for the last 2 years, because the outbreak was, you know, a year, but then when I think about it, the the things that events that happened to occur, we were already going through a lot with police brutality and stuff already. And with that coming along, it just added more to our plate. So, you know, as the Berets, like I mentioned earlier, we need younger warriors that are really committed and open-minded, and not only understand that when it comes to commitment, you can't say you can't have time. You got to make that time, because if you really want change, if you really want things to happen, you got to make it happen. You can't sit to, oh yeah, today I'm free. No, it doesn't work that way. So, you know, when I say this, we're ready to train you. We're ready to make you understand the warriors that you are. Not that I'm gonna make you become any, because everyone's a warrior at heart. Everyone on this Zoom meeting is fighting their own war and becoming that warrior that needs to be shown. And that's why my focus with our younger members now is sculpting them to understand the responsibility that when it comes to Aztlan, when it comes to the struggle of our people, their struggle is our struggle. And that's why I mentioned that that's one of the focuses, but the other two focuses come hand in hand when it comes to, you know, what does our gente need right now? We believe besides education, our gente needs a sign of hope when it comes to mutual aid. What does mutual aid mean? Housing, medical, food, financial, whatever it may be, we need to become that resource. And so pretty soon we'll be coming out of our houses, stepping into the streets once again, and becoming that source of resources to share amongst our gente that are going through everything right now. So if they have nothing to go to, there's something to look up to. And that's one of the programs I'm pushing. But before we can disperse and start pushing that work throughout all the communities of San Diego, I'm preparing also, you know, what are the regulations we need to take for ourselves so people don't get hesitant when they're grabbing a paper from us. Because we understand people are fearful right now. People are scared, whether you have the vaccine or not. Me personally, I haven't taken the vaccine. I'm not pushing it, I'm not against it. But I will take every precaution I need to make sure that your safety and my safety is respected. And as Berets, we've always done that when it comes to safety, when it comes to being that aid. And so that's why I believe with these young warriors we have now, we become that outreach team besides the other work that Unión and other these organizations, Chicano Park Steering Committee, you know, LIBROS, you know, everything's a resource. Everything's a program that becomes something connected. And with that taking play, we're also taking consideration as a third focus of what we're all dealing with when it comes to police brutality. But taking hand, gente, if you're not aware of, we're also aware of what's been going on in the streets, what's been going on with the shooting, what's been going on with the tensions, man. When I bring this up, it's a very touchy subject. I want you to make sure you understand that the Brown Berets have always understood that. I mean, to be quite honest with you, majority of us are from the streets. But we understand we took that level of representation to a whole nother level. We want our streets protected. We want our streets safe. You know, we want these tensions to de-escalate. But like I mentioned earlier, if nothing's going to be out there, if no one's going to take the responsibility to show what that guidance or what that looks like through programs or the education, we as Berets are going to take that responsibility of San Diego. The National Brown Berets Aztlan are going to step into that issue. And I want you to understand that when you understand, when we're out there, we're doing this because we love it. When we're out there pushing peace and unity is because we believe in peace and unity. And we had that before. We've had that before we were colonized. And we can have that again. Like I was mentioned, when was there, will be again. And if the system isn't going to show that by locking us up and incarcerating us and making us understand through punishment that that's how we're going to be corrected, or if that's your true enemy is a person across the street, we can't allow that to happen no more. So the National Brown Berets are bringing up that question and bringing up that issue and stepping into that that focus, that we must become that guidance, we must become that faith, that if you're not gonna look up to anybody, at least look our way and see where we're coming at. Because we understand where you're coming from. We understand when growing up in the streets, all we had to do was survive. And it's everyone's struggle was to survive. But understand when I say this, our enemy is not the enemy across the street. Our enemy is not the enemy across your doorway. Our enemy is the enemy that put us in our positions, in our situations, in our habitats, in the environments we live in. That is the true enemy. The true enemy is the oppressor itself. And when we understand that, and when I'm talking to you young folks out there, I'm 24 years old. It's not too late. It's never too late. Now, I understand you live past 18, that's a blessing. Because growing up in San Diego, growing up in the streets, it's tough. And as a chairman and as a personal person, I'm pushing that agenda, because we have to become a guidance, like I mentioned, that line of faith. And we're willing to take that responsibility because we've done it before. And those are the three main focusing new things to the agenda that we're bringing to our plate. Besides the police brutality, besides the youth programs that we want to bring back to the summer. The summer's coming right around the corner. And that's the perfect time right now. If anyone believes that they can help in what we're doing, hit me up. Hit up the steering committee. Meet us at Chicano Park. We're always willing to focus on new ideas and new resources so we can make this happen. But I just want to make you understand that this last subject I brought up is a very touchy subject, but the Brown Berets Aztlan is willing to take that responsibility because it must come from our own gente. It can't be done by a systematic way. The system is what forms us to thinking that that's normal. Living day by day, looking behind our backs like it's normal. It's not normal. You know, at night, we don't even want to walk out at certain times. Why is that? You know, we should be able to take midnight strolls. We should be able to feel safe when we walk around the corner or step out our doors. I want to make sure that you all understand that you're not alone and we stand with you, not against you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Joanie, before I move on, do you have something to say?
Yeah, and also let's not forget that we just finished an era, right, of Trumpism, of so there's the time is now to, like Eddie said, you know, to join an organization, protect our barrios. You know, we don't have to go to the police, right? We have our gente who we can look up to and call. Like, you know, I don't know how many times I've actually called my compas from Unión del Barrio because people were over here knocking on my window at night, and you know, and I'm scared to call the cops, right? I don't want somebody to possibly be shot because of something, right? So, you know, join an organization, and also just because, you know, that person is no longer in power doesn't mean that we're not going to have fascists, you know, in our communities, right? It's now more than ever that we need and not just the youth, but anybody that wants to create change in our communities, protect the parque as well, since it has been, you know, a target. And not just recently, but I remember even from like the Minutemen from back in the day in 2007, you know, from when I was younger. And another thing I also forgot to mention, and I kind of touched based on, is Unión del Barrio, we're celebrating 40 years in August 29th. And we are actually fundraising for a mural. And you can kind of see a little bit of what's going to be, in the mural. But, you know, help us sharing our information. We have a UDBSD shop on Instagram where you can follow us, also on Unión del Barrio, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We don't have a TikTok yet, but hopefully soon. Please support us, whether it's just sharing the information, the flyers, donating to our Venmo at Unión del Barrio, you know, sharing the Chicano Park Steering Committee events, you know, any little thing like that, you know, it goes a long way. and you'll be surprised how some things can go viral, right? Misinformation too, and also it's important for us to correct those, right? But yeah, so I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much to the Chicano Park Steering Committee for granting us this opportunity to creating this historic milestone for us as we're celebrating the 40th, but also the connections. And I know that a lot of our founder members of Unión del Barrio are still part of the Chicano Park Steering Committee, and some have passed, right? But they instilled that grain in a lot of us. And even though I might have not met certain people, but I'm constantly hearing about them, like Compañero Neto, Pablo Aceves, who passed away a couple years ago, and he he was always talking to us about everything that has been mentioned today, right? Like we learn from our elders, we learn from those movements, right? From the Chicano Park takeover to the Chicano Park, Chicano movement, and other movements, not just Chicano, also the Black Panthers and the Black Power movement, right? But yeah, I just wanted to take this time to say that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, compa. And with that being said, I just want to go ahead and thank Lucas for inviting me to co-host, and thank everybody on the panel. On behalf of Unión del Barrio, and on behalf of myself, Juan Carlos Susano, it was an honor to be part of the panel. But I'm going to go ahead and jump and leave it to Lucas to wrap it up. But I just want to go ahead and just emphasize the point that Joanie was making about joining an organization. And the powers in the youth don't obfuscate the truth, just like Chairman Alvarez stated multiple times. Lucas over here is fairly young. I don't want to, give away his age. I am fairly young as well. I mean, everybody here is super young. So it's like, come on, man. So please join us, please. But nonetheless, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Lucas to wrap it up.
Yeah. I just want to once again just say thank you all. It's really great to be able to celebrate the connections that we have within the community. And, again, the park itself has always been a united front, with various organizations. And it's, with the theme this year being healing the past, educating the present, and leading into the future, I think it's safe to say that all of the organizations here today are, encompassing that, whether it's serving as a space for people to have those important conversations, trying to meet the need and meet people where they're at currently now, and then building that next generation as we continue to go forward. It's important, and I'm really glad that you all could join us today. And I, myself personally, I want to say thank you all, because I know I've worked with you all with our community gatherings that we were doing for a while. And, it's that type of united front that we need to continue, in order for us to maintain the movement and maintain the speed that we've been going. I just, again, would like to just highlight, again, if you can, join Unión del Barrio, look at LIBROS, look at Centro de la Raza, look at the Brown Berets de Aztlan. These are organizations that have been doing the work historically, and we will continue to do the work. And it's up to you, you all at home watching now, to continue and pick up the banderas from all of us and just keep it going forward. We're all fairly young, but we got to get the next ready, because it's up to us. And before we close up, I want to just, give you all the opportunity to share, where they can locate you, where they can find you, what's the Instagram, the Facebook. That way, if they want to get connected after this, they know where they can locate.
Thank you. So for Unión del Barrio, you can locate us we have a centro in Barrio Logan called Centro Marconguiano, Centro Aztlan Marconguiano at 2078 Logan Avenue, San Diego, California, 92113. For right now, we're actually just hosting that. We're hosting the UDBSD shop there every Saturday from 11 to 2 p.m. We're selling our merch. Like I mentioned, it goes to the fundraising of our mural. But if you want to contact us, we have our website, uniondelbarrio.org. If you are here locally and you want to shoot us an email, it's info_sd@uniondelbarrio.org. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram under Unión del Barrio. And then we also have the Chicano Mexicano Prison Project and Somos Raza and Escuela Aztlan on IG. But if you just follow us on Unión del Barrio, we can direct you there at whichever platform you feel more comfortable, or shoot us an email. Thank you.
Again, I'm so happy to be in the company of of all of you today. You can reach out to Reforma San Diego Libros at sandiegolibros@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at San Diego Libros. You can find us on Facebook at San Diego Libros. You see a theme. That's the most popular way to get in touch with us. But we're really active on Instagram. We also work with Reforma Children in Crisis Project. And so you can also reach us through Reforma Children in Crisis Project's Instagram as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I'll mention where we're physically located, and maybe I could mention the social media, but we're at 2004 Park Boulevard. It's within Balboa Park. It's round building with murals. Can't miss it. Though you might end up next door, which is a World Beat Center, which is also our sister organization, also has murals. But we're both old water tanks that were converted out of a takeover that happened shortly after the Chicano Park takeover. So we're physically here. We currently are open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays only from 12 to 4. We just today had the exhibition opening of celebrating 47 years of San Diego Danza Tolteca Chichimeca tradition. So this is with Danza Mexicayot. So this exhibit is going to be up and running through at least mid-May. So come on by, check it out, check us out. And if you're still just on the virtual.
Well, we have as well Facebook, Twitter, the website. Instagram is where we're pretty active. And if you do have an Instagram, you can actually click on our link tree and find the connection to all of our other sites. We have a host of projects happening right now for fundraising. We have our 50th that's coming up in July as well that we are also planning for. It's going to be a kickoff of a virtual celebration, most likely, again, to keep the community safe. We have email addresses where you can contact us for anything from submitting art to proposing for a workshop or projects here at the Centro. Please feel free to reach out. Centro is for everybody. Thank you so much. We really appreciate being here.
And the regular website is Centro de la Raza. Somebody beat us to the other URL. Yeah. So centrodelaraza.com.
Usually I would say you can find us at the park. Everything that's going on. Pretty soon we'll be up there, but you can find us on Facebook at the San Diego Brown Berets San Diego de Aztlan. I'm the main admin, so as soon as you message that, you'll be directly contacting me. We're not really doing any recruitment at the moment, to be honest, just because we don't really have a space to meet up in public. And as soon as we do, just leave your information and we'll contact you as soon as possible and we'll make it happen. If you're really adamant about being a warrior for your gente, sometimes you don't have to be a physical warrior. Our strongest weapon is our mind. That's what I'll remind you. So if you think you're up for it, hit up the Brown Berets Aztlan. Not everyone can be a brown beret, but everyone's a brown beret at heart. Thank you.
Joanie?
I forgot to mention. We also, Unión del Barrio also has a podcast called the Pablo Aceves Podcast, and we're on iTunes, Spotify, and we also upload sometimes to YouTube. So, make sure you follow us and listen to us as well. And I forgot to mention, we have our noches every third Wednesday of the month. We host a Noche de Defensa y Resistencia. So it's usually with the topic pertaining something with the community, something with the youth, prison, etc. So, but continue, follow us on Unión del Barrio so you can, keep up with all of that. But thank you.
Yeah. No, just thank you all again. And, as we are celebrating the 51st year of Chicano Park, it did bring an end to the 50 years of the Chicano movement, and now we need to look to the next 50 years. And I'm excited to work with you all in the future as the Chicano Park Steering Committee. And those who are at home, please, it's our time. It's not over. The fight's still going on, and these are some perfect organizations to get involved with. So once again, thank you all for joining us. And you can tune in tomorrow. We're going to be highlighting lowriders. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.